Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Alexander. Hold on. Yeah. We will implement that. Yeah. People will not take the exam without pay. We'll tell them that we'll conduct an exam later, but only on the payment of fee they will be allowed to. So, sir, I think we can start, sir.
Yeah. Please.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Very good morning to everyone. As you are aware, the distinguished guest lecture series have been happening in full force, and we have the best of the experts available in the country to be delivering these talks. And you can imagine how much of benefit it has offered to us. Today, we have the distinguished guest lecture on India's readiness for 5G by Sri Sasindran Prabhu. He's a key resource person at KSGI. He obtained his master's from Anna University in Applied Electronics, worked for Tech Mahindra, and he took up the task of training the engineers on 5G technologies for a Japanese project. Now, it is about to be commissioned in Japan. He has published several white papers to cite a few of them: MPLS in mobile backhaul, VXLAN, extending VLANs into cloud, etc. It is extremely rewarding to learn about the emerging technologies from an expert who is closely involved in this project. Especially, I would really urge all the faculty who are trying to do PhD in the domain of wireless networks, example 5G. It is a good opportunity to see what are all the open areas that we can work so that we can work on the practical aspects of 5G. I welcome Mr. Sasindran Prabhu, and I request him to please deliver the talk. Thank you.
Thanks for the nice introduction. I guess all of the participants are able to hear me and see the slide.
Sir, if the voice can be a little louder, I think it will be really audible.
Is this okay now?
It's okay. I think people can hear.
Maybe I can talk louder.
It's better, sir. Yeah, now it's better.
Right. Let me close to the microphone and then talk.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I was a little far away from here.
Sure.
Right. So, good morning to all of us. Let's go to the session agenda today. For the benefit of everybody, I know there might be participants who may be very new to 5G. Some may already have some knowledge. Some may have a good knowledge also. So to cover up and level up the knowledge, let me first cover about what is a G, 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, how it evolved, what are the differences. And then we will talk about what is the present wireless scenario in India. And presently, all of us know that we are using 4G, and how is that 4G is doing, and how the subscribers feel, and what are the different service providers we have, and what are their positions. And next is we'll see what is new in 5G and what are some new experiences, right? So when we go from 4G to 5G, definitely anyone who want to see 5G want to know what is the difference, right? What is the extra things I'm going to get? What is the extra, speed I'm going to gain or a cost I'm going to gain? Then we'll see what is the Indian mobile users demographic. Means what is the Indian users? What is their, background? What type of subscribers we have? And what are their expectations, and what are the major Indian mobile service providers. There were many service providers about 10 years ago. Today we have very few. It has been consolidated, some have merged, all that. We'll see that what is the position of service providers here, and how they are ready for 5G, which service provider, how much they are ready, are they ready, or are they waiting for financially to be strong to be ready, kind of thing. At the end, then we will open for question and answers. I will suggest that we'll go for 1 hour above the whole presentation, and you can write your questions on the chat box as and when you feel. And at the end of the presentation, we'll open for questions about 10-15 minutes. And I will read also the questions from the chat box and try to answer. Right, next go. What is the evolution of 5G? This is more of a technical kind of thing. We started with 1G in 1970, and 70 to 80 is called as 1G. It is purely analog cellular technology, analog voice, and it uses FDMA multiplexing switching kind of thing. And it was working on a PSTN, that is Public Service Telephone Network. MTS, AMTS, IMTS, mobile telephone system, advanced mobile telephone system, improved mobile telephone system. These were all the technologies which were used. Today, 1G is not there at all because it is analog. It has been phased out, right? 2G is there still some African countries. 3G is there even in some of the villages in India, right? Predominantly 4G is there in metro cities, and even metro cities, sometimes at 4G, when the bandwidth gets exhausted, it goes to the 3G. That is, when you see in the mobile on the top right hand, if you see 4G, it means 4G is in service. When you see it is H plus, means it has gone from 4G to 3G. It is a mixed, means it can be varying from 3G to 4G kind of thing. Handoff is horizontal. Horizontal means one cell to the other cell. When I am traveling from one cell to other cell, my call without getting torn, it has to be transferred. That is only horizontal, right? There is another vertical which has come later. I will describe that later. It was very low capacity, unreliable handoff. Many times when you cross the cell, it used to get dropped. Poor voice links, and it was not secure because it was IP, not oriented with IP. Then come to 2G, 1990 to 2001. It is 14.4 to 64 kbps. It was digital cellular technology. It was narrowband circuit switch packet data, and 2G started with SMS and MMS. That is, little bit of data got added. Higher capacity of packetized data. It was using TDMA, not only FDMA. FDMA came because in conventionally in broadcasting in India or any part of the world, voice means it is FDMA. Picture means it is TDMA. So that is how the FDMA came in 1G. Then later it became TDMA and CDMA. CDMA and TDMA are two different technologies. It has a lot of variation, right? Again, it was using same PSTN, and in 2G there were variations. 2G was using only basic GSM. 2.5G started with GPRS, generalized packet radio service. This is where the SMS started. Then 2.75 it came EDGE, that is enhanced data GSM evolution. Means it has come to MMS and more data. It came later, right? So this 2G, 2.5G, 2.75G, these are all commercial terms. When a service provider wants to say I am better than the other, he will say he is giving 2.5, I am giving 2.75. So the numbers came because of the commercial competition. Basically, one small extra feature added, they will started putting 2.5G, 2.75G like that, right? Then World Wide Web started coming at that time at the beginning of 2000. Again, handoff was only horizontal, and digital signals were more reliant on location and proximity. It required strong digital signals to help mobile phones. Then came to 3G, 2001 to 2010. The data was 2 Mbps, means the 2 Mbps is sufficient for the picture or a slow moving video, not the fast moving video, just what we see today. Right? Today we can even watch a movie, you can watch even a cricket match, we can do anything what you do in a television set earlier. Digital broadband packet data, CDMA 2000, EVDO, evolutionized video data. UMTS is Universal Mobile Telephone Service. That UMTS is the standard which combines both TDMA as well as CDMA. So you can have either TDMA or CDMA, which is in 3G. And EDGE was there in 2.75G. Enhanced audio video streaming, video conferencing support, web browsing at higher speeds. It was IPTV support. Mainly it was using CDMA, but GSM was using TDMA only. Packet network, and IMT 2000 was the standard for 3G, that is improved mobile telephone. Again, 3G, before coming to 4G, it didn't come as expected, so it was taking time. So the service providers started branding 3.5, 3.75. So 3.5G is HSDPA, high speed data packet access. 3.75 is high speed upstream data packet access. D is called downstream, U is upstream. Always in wireless communication, D means downstream, which is from the tower to the user. Upstream means from the user to the tower, right? Then it was using IPv4 partially, but it was not all IP centric. IP was also, you can see, but it was not IP oriented. Then horizontal and vertical handoff. Handoff means, suppose I have say 100 subscribers connected to a mobile tower. It is one way of connecting. The other way is I can remove from there and connect to a VLAN. It is a small network, say within a campus, within a college. So this is one way of doing things. This is called vertical handover. I can go from a small network to a bigger network or bigger network to a smaller network. Right. So when I am talking to somebody, say abroad, I have to go to the larger network. When I want to talk to somebody in the within the campus, I have to come to the lower network so that I don't need to waste my bandwidth in the core network. So horizontal and vertical were the handoff and need to accommodate higher network capacity. Then came to 4G, what we are today, right? It started in 2011 worldwide, but in India we started in 2013. I think most of the 4G deployment started in 13. Today we are in the full-fledged of 4G. It is a digital broadband packet data. We use Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi was not there earlier. And WiMAX LTE. LTE is the core. Long-term evolution was the core in 4G. But WiMAX was not picked up. It was there a big dream, but we didn't go much in this. Wi-Fi is a small scale. WiMAX is a big scale in the world level, you can say. But it didn't pick up much. Enhanced audio, video streaming, IP telephony, HD mobile TV. So the multiplexing is used OFDMA, orthogonal frequency division multiplexes. That is in the downstream, and in the upstream it is single carrier frequency division multiple access. Single carrier means one user to the tower is only single carrier, but the tower to multiple users should have multiple carriers, right? So the multiplexing is always a challenge from the tower to the users because it has to share the data with multiple users, right? So OFDMA is orthogonal frequency division multiplex. It means that if you want to have more data, it means you should have more carriers. But if you have more carriers, the bandwidth will get exhausted. So this orthogonal frequency division multiplexing is the same carrier I can use frequency shift, sorry, phase shifted. Suppose I have a carrier of 1 gigahertz. I will shift it by 90 degree, then 180 degree, then 270 degree. So which means one carrier itself, I can phase shift 4 times. I will have 4 carriers, but bandwidth is same. Which means I can send the 4 times the data with the same carrier, with the same bandwidth. So that is why the OFDMA was used in 4G. So what is special in 4G is all IP network. So all data formats, finally it will be converted into internet. Why 4G is faster than 3G? One of the reasons is that 3G, there were different type of signal formats. You have to convert, all that it used to take time. So signal used to be slow. Since it is all IP network, finally, wherever the data is generated from the user, it will be converted into the IP format before going into the network and switching. Single unified standard LTE is the basic standard. Long-term evolution is the basic standard for 4G, and in today it is in a widespread operation. And like you know, who are all the standardizing bodies? We have a CCITT earlier in communication body, and RFC was the internet standardizing body. And similarly, 3GPP is the standardizing body for all wireless communication. Right. So release 15 is the standard for 5G. So today it is we are in release 14. Release 13 and 14 is meant for 4G. Release 13 was initial stages of 4G, and release 14 is the current. We are almost in the middle or the end of the 4G before coming into 5G. Okay, now coming to 5G, the plan was to start in 2015. We are in actually 2020, right? Because there are a lot of enabling technologies which has to get right and it has to work together. That is why it took a lot of time to make the 5G working. But still today, we are not in the real 5G. Even most of the advanced countries who claim that they are in 5G, it is not the dream 5G. It is actually 5G-like services, just something more than 4G. You will see that in later slides. So in 5G, the data should be 1 Gbps normal and 10 Gbps at the peak. Means everybody, even if thousands of subscribers are going to talk, they should have minimum of 1 Gbps. At the peak time, it may be 10 Gbps. It is unified IP seamless network. It follows all this LAN standard, PAN standard, MAN standard, WLAN standard, dynamic information access. It can even accommodate wearable devices with artificial intelligence capabilities. There are different multiplexing techniques which are not yet finalized. Even different service providers in the world try to use the different technologies like SCMA, sparse code multiple access. NOMA is non-orthogonal multiple access. I said orthogonal means phase shifting the carrier. Here, instead of phase shifting, there are a lot of issues by even phase shifting in crosstalk and those things. So it's non-orthogonal multiple access means by looking at the power level. So if I say 0 to 1 volt, you have one carrier at 1 volt, one carrier at zero point 0.8 volts, another carrier 0.6 volt, like that. So by varying the amplitude level, power level, also you can vary the carrier, but the same bandwidth. So that's called NOMA. And BDMA is beam division multiple access. Beam division multiple access you need because today you have to focus it more. 5G, the bandwidth, sorry, the carrier is so high that you need a very high power if it has to travel for a long distance. In fact, 5G, every half a kilometer you will have an antenna, not like 4G, because the carrier is frequency is much higher. It will travel for a shorter distance. It may get absorbed by buildings. So it will go for a shorter distance, which means either the power in the antenna has to be increased or you should have much more antennas differently. So it has to be beamed. It is not like, you know, ordinary radiation from the tower. It actually transmits in all different directions. But here, if you have, say, 50 subscribers in one locality, only those 50 subscribers should be focused from the tower. It is like giving one beam from the antenna to this. So the antenna's orientation, the location, position, all will depend upon how the subscribers are distributed. Right? So more subscribers clustered. So you have to make the antenna arrangement also according to that. So 5G is going to use IPv6. It is yet to be ready. Normally, even today, 85% of traffic is going by IPv4 because V4 is much faster than V6. V6 is more secured, but it's not as fast as V4. Over a period of time, when the technology improves, then IPv6 might become common everywhere. This also does horizontal and vertical handoff. And today 5G is in the initial stages. Only few of the advanced countries have 5G. All other countries are just planning and doing some trials, and widespread deployment is waited. So in 5G, what are the user expectations? And there are some challenges. Simultaneous 1 Gbps data rate to many users. Today 4G gives 1 Gbps only at the peak rate. It is not always, right? So in 5G, minimum expectation is 1 Gbps and peak data rate is 10 Gbps. Several hundreds and thousands of simultaneous connections for massive wireless sensor network. When the 5G comes, it is not only the users, it's not only the human beings. There are a lot of wireless sensors are there. It is also counted as one of the device which is going to expect service from the tower. So hundreds and thousands means there is 1 lakh devices in 1 square kilometer. You take 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer area, there can be 1 lakh devices who will have minimum 1 Gbps services, right? This is the minimum expectation in 5G. Significant enhancement in spectral efficiency, much more than 4G. Means I have a spectrum of say 3 to 3.1 gigahertz. How I am using the spectrum for the maximum data rate, it should be better utilized in 5G so that you can have more data within the same bandwidth. Improved coverage, signaling efficiency means coverage should be better. All subscribers should be covered. There should not be call drop off even if when we move from one cell to the other cell, or even if we go behind a concrete structure where the signals will be weak. Signaling efficiency, you should make a call set up quickly. It should not take time. So call setting up, similarly call tearing off, should be much faster and quicker. And the number of data bits I use for signaling should be less because signaling data bits are not billed. Only user data rates are billed, right? So anything not billed means it is an overhead, and the overhead should be as less as possible. It has to meet new use cases, Internet of Things, which was started already in 4G, but it will be predominant in 5G. Broadcast like services, for example, like tsunami, there's going to be a storm. So you should be able to send a broadcast type of services. Everybody's mobile should have some information that's something about emergency kind of thing. Lifeline communication in times of natural disaster. What are the challenges expected is maximum data rate of 10 Gbps in the air. It is not easy. Like a satellite communication, from the satellite when the signal comes, signal is buried in the noise, right? Signal is like extract gold from the ground. You may get 1 milligram of gold, but you have to dig up about 100 kgs of sand. Like that, signal will be very less. The noise will be much more. So sending 10 Gbps in the air, it's not easy. It is very challenging only, right? And latency of 1 millisecond. Latency means the time taken to get the call through. For example, I am trying you after I finish dialing the number, when you get the ring or when you get the first data bit, the time taken for traveling. For example, I'm calling somebody in US, it has to cross half of the globe. It should take 1 millisecond only to start, right? So presently there is 70 or 80 millisecond it takes in 4G, even though 4G specification is 10 millisecond, but normally it takes 60 to 70 millisecond. But in 5G, for the features what we expect, it should be 1 millisecond or lesser. IoT devices with a battery life of 10 years. So most of the IoT devices are going to be there where it is out of reach of the people, which means you go take it, change the battery. It is not as easy as this handy type of thing. So normally we expect battery life of 10 years. It is actually a challenge for chemical engineering, right? All batteries should be smaller, life should be more, retention of power should be more, the electrolyte should not get dry so fast, all that, right? So in 5G, mainly the challenges are data rate of 10 Gbps in the air, latency of 1 millisecond, and IoT devices of battery life of 10 years. Next, come to 5G is not one technology. It is a combination of multiple enabling technologies. If it is just one technology, it might be much easier. First is millimeter wave wireless communication. Millimeter wave means 30 gigahertz to 300 gigahertz spectrum, right? Now, you know what spectrum we use? It is about 2 gigahertz, right? Maximum 6 gigahertz only. Anything more than 6 gigahertz, it is not used for mobile communication, right? The 30 to 300 gigahertz is actually called millimeter wave, and that is supposed to be the bandwidth it should be used for 5G, especially 24.25 to 52.6 and 64 to 86 gigahertz. Today, whatever the countries claim that 5G, it is not millimeter wave. It is like 5G like services. They all use about 2.5 to 3 gigahertz only, right? They may try to give more bandwidth. They may try to give enhanced services compared to 4G. So anything better than 4G, you can call 5G, but not the dream 5G, what we will have all the expectations of 5G. Massive MIMO with a beamforming. So MIMO is multiple input, multiple output. That means from the handset and to the tower, you will have many more antennas. It is not just one antenna, right? In 3G, if you take your telephone handset, in the top right corner, the antenna, one antenna used to be there. In 4G, you have two antennas. In the top left and right corner, two antennas will be there. So when you are talking, you just hold your hand on the top of the telephone. You can see the signal lines. There are 5 lines are there, small line in the left, and the line will reduce, and then you remove your hand, again it will come up, which means the antenna is on the top of the telephone. Similarly, on the service providers antenna, which you can see on the road, it is just one element, right? It was in 3G. Now there are two elements for 4G. In 5G, there will be 8 elements. So for every one beam, there will be 8 elements on the service provider antenna, and similarly there will be 8 elements in your telephone set also. So how it is going to be is, because you have 4 corners of your telephone, each corner there will be 2 elements, right? So left, right, top, left, right, bottom, you will have 2 elements. So 8 elements will be there in every phone, right? So even if the top antenna doesn't pick up the signal, it will pick up from the bottom, right? So if your antenna is, if your service provider antenna is in one direction, and suppose say its signal gets disturbed, it can pick up a signal from the bottom side, because the bottom will be in the opposite side, right? So this is just to see that call will not drop, signal strength is more. And beam forming is because it is focused now. Earlier it was, it is, if you throw a stone in the water, you get ripples all around, right? So energy is getting disturbed. Similarly, energy gets distributed. So today, the 4G transmission also, it gets distributed only. It is not a beam, right? But in 5G, it is going to be a beam. So from the antenna, it will be focused to say 50 or 100 subscribers in one locality. Then another beam to another 50 subscribers. So wherever the subscribers are located, it is focused on them, and all power is given to that side only. Proactive content caching at the edge, reduce the access delays to the contents. Basically, if I say, if I make a call to somebody in America, or if I make a call to somebody sitting in the same office, the signal traveling will be same. It has to go to the core network till 4G. But in 5G, what they are going to do is, your signal will switch in the tower itself. For example, I'm talking somebody in the same building. It doesn't need to go to the core network. It doesn't need to go to the fiber satellite. It will get switched in the edge itself. Edge means it is before going into the core network, your last mile itself will get switched, so that your core network will not have that much bandwidth. The real international traffic or country to country traffic only will go to the core network, so that your bandwidth gets, your data get reduced and the bandwidth will get better utilized. So congestion will be reduced. Advanced interference and mobility management, Internet of Things, wireless sensor networks, multiple hop networks, and small cells. So in 4G, you can see around 1.5 kilometer, the antenna will be located on the road. In 5G, normally they expect at least half a kilometer, there will be one antenna. And that antenna also will look like one big tower only. It is not like, one small tower with 3, 4 fixed on the side, right? So antenna itself is going to be a much complex thing, so that you have multiple elements to focus on the same side. So small cells, earlier it used to be a big cells, small cells only in the congested areas. When you move from the center of the city to the outskirts, the cells will become bigger because subscribers are very less. But in 5G, not only for the subscriber, since it is going to be a millimeter wave, the traveling distance will be lesser. So either the power has to be more or the cell size has to be reduced. So this small cells is going to be the concept in 5G. Wireless network virtualization, right? Virtualization you might have seen in, basically in the storage side. Now even in the network side also it is going to be virtualized. Basically the elements will be, physical elements will be one set, but the users will be more. So for example, one device is used by one person, but virtually one device can be used by 10 users. So each user may think the device is only for me as far as the service wise, but physically there will be one. This is to reduce the cost, right? Earlier used to have redundancy also, because people were never used to believe electronic things are reliable. It may fail anytime, software may fail anytime. So you have a two versions. So if X fails, Y will take care of kind of thing. Now it is going to be reverse. With the same one hardware element, there are multiple users, so that it will get shared, right? For example, OS, I want to buy a licensed copy. If each user wants one licensed copy, the cost will be more. So instead, you keep that OS into one server, put one hypervisor, and that one OS can be used by 100 users. So that cost is saved, right? Cognitive radio technologies called smart radio. Radio, normally people were think that it is a pakka hardware. It cannot be, virtualized. But today there are a lot of different technologies. Algorithms have been developed. Even the radio and antenna side also can be virtualized. So which lesser number of elements, more users can do. IPv6 is going to be a 5G later, and Li-Fi is just like Wi-Fi. We have a light fidelity. It is Wi-Fi is going to be used inside the room. Okay, one disadvantage of Wi-Fi is it cannot go beyond certain speed, but light is much faster than. But the disadvantage of light is any obstruction it cannot travel through. Okay, electrical signals can travel through, even though it may get faded, but it won't travel through. So inside the room it can be a Wi-Fi, but once it goes outside, it will become a Wi-Fi. What is the Indian wireless scenario? First mobile telephone as well as internet service, non-wireless, started in Delhi on 15th August 95. It was non-commercial. Till 2015, there were numerous wireless service providers from Airtel, biggest 23 crore subscribers, till Quadrant. It was a small service provider who had only 25 lakh subscribers. This was the scenario till 2015. Post commercial operation of Reliance Jio in September 2016, the telecom market saw a huge change in terms of falling tariff rates and reduction of data charges changed the economics of some of the telecom players. It resulted in exit of many smaller players from the market. So once the Reliance Jio came, it has become a larger scale and the equation itself changed. From 50 or 100 service provider, it has become just 4 service providers. So we'll see that later about each service provider, what is their capacity and what is the plan. As on April 2020, mobile users in India are 118 crores, internet users are 69 crores, Aadhaar is 123 crores, means in government records is 123 crores, but actual population is 130 crores plus. Because the remote areas, villages, who may not have still Aadhaar card, there are 7 crores still difference is there. India is the second largest mobile users in the globe. Right? Who is the first mobile user in the globe is China. Indian mobile tariffs is the lowest in the world. A new connection can be activated with a monthly commitment of $0.15 only. So even though China has a larger network, but Indian users are having a much cheaper service. The wireless industry is investing heavily in developing systems that operate in millimeter wave, 30 to 300 gigahertz bands. The present 4G uses a spectrum up to 2.5 gigahertz. So this bandwidth is a very serious thing. When your equipments are working with 2.5 gigahertz, you want to switch to 30 gigahertz. It is going to be upgraded completely. So hardware has to be changed, antenna port has to be changed. So you know how much investment the service providers have to make. And all the service providers except Reliance Jio are all bankrupt. They are not making any profit. Luckily, Vodafone, since the court verdict has come that they don't need to pay the penalty to Troy, they saved. Otherwise, Vodafone also might have been closed by now. Right? So changing all that hardware upgrading is not an easy thing, heavily cost increasing things only. That is why 5G is one of the very important things get delayed. The millimeter wave band is used presently by space applications and they have to vacate before assigning to 5G. So even if somebody is going to say 5G I have, it is like a stopgap arrangement. It is, you can say 4.1, 4.2, like 3.25, 3.5 before coming to 4G. Now 4.1, 4.2, 4.3 will come before 5G. So even though somebody says 5G, it is not the real 5G in millimeter wave. It is a 5G little improved version of 4G only. Because the bandwidth itself is not free. Today, most of the space applications use that 30 to 300 gigahertz. Right? So they may not vacate 30 to 300 gigahertz. Say about 30 to 40 gigahertz, they might vacate. Then the higher side, still they will keep it for space applications. All the new attractive features of 5G is possible because of larger quantities of available spectrum. Right? So when your bandwidth is going up in millimeter wave, you have an enormous bandwidth. So you can send enormous data rate. That is how it has become possible. Spatial degrees of freedom afforded by very high dimensional antenna arrays. So antenna is not just one direction. It is going to be a multiple direction and it is going to be a high power thing. Okay? Because of all this, 5G becomes possible. Now, Indian service providers started actually investing all those things, thinking about planning how to improve, what will be the cost. But because of sudden, this COVID pandemic, things have changed. Right? We'll come to that later point. So, present 4G in India. What made to evolve 4G? Prior to 4G, there were many standards, different multiplexing techniques, coding standard, data formats, and compatibility was always an issue before interworking. 4G brought the all IP concept and made seamless. The very important thing what 4G brought is it made the compatibility between all these multiplexing techniques, coding standards, and data formats. So 4G is called as all IP, LTE. LTE all IP brought something, make it uniform kind of thing. In 4G, LTE long-term evolution remains the dominant technology, accounting for 49% of mobile subscription in 2019. It will continue to be dominant, representing 64% of mobile subscription in 2025. So even though LTE is more dominant in metro cities, but still in the outskirts of metro cities, in rural areas, still they use only 3G, right? So only today, 49% of the Indian population have 4G. LTE subscriptions in the India region are forecast to increase from 550 million in 2019 to 920 million in 2025. So even in 2025, still the 3G will be there because people who are not affordable still have to have some network. They cannot move into 4G. Tech Mahindra announced a partnership with ITI. You know, ITI was the sole manufacturer. They were supplying equipment to DOT. Earlier, BSNL was called as DOT, and it's a monopoly kind of thing. And today, telecom is liberalized. ITI is not the only company which manufacture equipments. So ITI is 95% utilized. Today, it is not even 10% utilized. So there are all these facilities like from building equipments, all non-utilized. So Tech Mahindra is announced a partnership with ITI to use their infrastructure, which has a large manufacturing facilities to enable manufacturing of 4G equipment and work on building capabilities of 5G equipment for the Indian market. So this is the hardware facility means it is going to be for all service providers. So most of the service providers, not only specific to one service provider, compared to importing, if you buy local things, if it is economical, definitely all service provider will try to buy local made equipments. So let's see what is new in 5G. There are 5G related new experiences what are awaited. One is broadband access in dense area. There are going to be 1 lakh people in 1 square kilometer, and normally it is not everywhere. If you say in Bangalore, say MG Road, Chennai, if you say Anna Salai, Delhi, Connaught Place, Bombay, Nariman Point, only in few places you have a broadband access in a dense area, but 5G is going to provide that same thing in whole of the city. So you can have thousands of people, that is 1 lakh people in 1 square kilometer without any difference in the service. High user mobility, connection intact even at 500 kilometer per hour. Meaning today 4G, if you make a call when you are sitting in a train, trains normally go 70 to 100 kilometer today. That's okay. But if it goes faster than 120 or 130 kilometer, your call will get disconnected. By the time your call gets connected to 1 tower, your train will move faster than that. That is where the latency comes into the picture. So mobile communication, always the latency matters. So farther you go, I mean faster you go, still the connection has to be intact. So 5G, the plan was even if you travel at 500 kilometer per hour, the connection should be intact. Massive IoT based connectivity, man to machine or machine to machine connectivity should be through 5G. Ultra reliable communication like remote surgery, drones, this needs a high reliability. Suddenly if the network stops, it becomes slow, the whole thing will go wrong, right? Accuracy, reliability required more. Ultra low latency service like autonomous vehicles, connected cars, these are all accuracy oriented. So when you are traveling in a car, controlling the speed, stopping, starting, and see the edge of the lane, this all more accurate required. It should be very prompt. Big data based intelligence service, advanced artificial intelligence based in info streaming. So when you have a 3D kind of image to send, the data rate is going to be much higher. 2D to 3D is almost, it is 1,000 times increase the data bit rate. So these all can be done where the network accommodates a high data rate service. Hologram and multimedia based immersive service. So we'll see some of this in a very lighter way to do within a stipulated time. Broadband access in dense area is providing broadband access in densely populated areas where thousands of people per square kilometer live or work. Okay, pervasive video. Pervasive video means continuously, wherever you go, network should be available. You can't say that network is not available anywhere. right? So in the morning, suppose I'm, watching a program in my mobile. Now I'm going to go drive a car. So in the car, I should be able to continue to see the same program. Then I come to the office. Then I switch on my laptop. I should continue to see the same program in my laptop, right? So even though when I see the devices, change the devices, I should be able to see the same program without any break. Means that network should be available everywhere, and I should not have any disruption in the program, right? This is a pervasive video with ubiquitous computing. And HD video photo sharing, like today you have a Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, so many things. The data requirement is much higher and it keep varying. So all that has to be updated. The network has to accommodate. And a smart office. Most of us work, stopped traveling these days because traveling takes time and the cost. So without traveling in the same office, I should be able to see what's happening in the other office, right? So smart office is like you have 5 offices in different locations in the country. All 5 should be network wise connected. It is like one office kind of thing. Higher user mobility. So when the mobility increases, of course, mobile itself is required since the users are moving, right? If the users are not moving, it's similar to the landline only. Providing mobile services in vehicles, trains, enhanced connectivity for in-vehicle entertainment, accessing the internet, enhanced navigation through instant real-time communication, right? So 5G promises the calls will be intact till 500 kilometer per hour. And moving hotspots. Suppose I'm going in a bus and the bus have a Wi-Fi, but still the bus itself is moving, right? So it is a 2 levels of movement. One is subscriber moving and the Wi-Fi spot itself is moving. So this is also, there is a little difference in the normal hotspot, which is fixed in one place, to a moving hotspot. Massive internet of things. IoT is the network of physical objects, devices, vehicles, buildings, and other items which are embedded with electronics, software, sensors, and network connectivity, which enables these objects to collect and exchange data. Smart wearables, sensor networks, mobile video surveillance, right? So when more devices are connected to IoT, more data traffic is going to increase, bitrate is going to increase, and the network has to support. Ultra reliable communication, one of these remote surgery. The vision of beyond 2020 suggests not only significant growth in such areas as automotive, health, assisted living applications, which needs ultra reliable and low latency network. Reliability and latency should be there. Suppose if I say surgeon is in Mumbai and the operation theater is in Bangalore, so when the doctor says you have to move something here, cut somewhere here, it should be very prompt and it should be very accurate. I mean, the network cannot fail suddenly. The whole thing will become a disaster. So the prompt accuracy is and reliability is very important, which is ensured in the 5G. Drones. Drones also becoming common these days, where vehicle cannot travel, human beings cannot walk in the disaster time. This also needs a lot of reliable and accurate network. Autonomous vehicles, right? It is believed that vehicles without a driver will have less accidents. Of course, it will work where the system is accurate, perfect, like roads width is same, signals are working, all that. But it is a little difficult in remote, areas where villages suddenly a cow crosses, suddenly a big group of people comes in between. This is all little challenge for autonomous vehicles. That is why autonomous vehicle, even though there are 5 phases, from completely manned vehicle to completely independent vehicles. Today, the world has reached only level 3. Means driver is still required, but operations will be done automatically, kind of thing. In urgency, the driver is required to take over the automatic system within himself. Right? Making completely automated system cannot be done till the 5G comes. Right? 5G means 5G in the millimeter wave communication. Ultra low latency services of connected cars. So each car, capitalizes on 5G's low latency to enable autonomous driving based on image recognition and vehicle to vehicle infrastructure. Right. So each vehicle will have a communicate with the other one, the front one, which is going in the cider one, at different lanes. Ultra low latency emergency services. Example of life-saving robo and the remote control. Telemedicine services requiring low latency control. So nowadays you have operation theater itself is moving. Not only ambulance take the patients to the hospital because it's going to be even late. So the ambulance will come with the, you know, the vehicle that will be operation theater, and it will be networked with doctor, with the hospital, or with the patient's relatives. All this will be networked, which will need low latency and very prompt and reliable services. Big data based intelligence service, artificial intelligence, real time context aware service. Face, voice, object sensor recognition needs inference servers based on deep learning. So all this machine learning, information streaming is all adds data. You need much more data than what it is today. So to handle more data in a reliable, definitely you need a high data bit rate with very less latency. Hologram and multimedia immersive service. So earlier, if you see, there was a VGA monitor with 640 into 120 pixels, then HD, then full HD. Today it is UHD is 7680 into 4320 of 100 MB. It was taking only 920 KB in the VGA signal format. Today UHD will need 100 MBs. Means for the same picture, if I send as a hologram in a 3D format, you need 100 MB data for one conversation, right? So automatically the data increases, and to accommodate that data and fast acting, you need a very faster network. Real-time interactive hologram service is not only just watching a movie kind of thing, it is just one way, but it is interactive, both sides, which needs higher data. It means twice the data. Interactive means A to B and B to A, which needs that you need a full duplex and you need double the data bit rate, which the network has to handle. So what is new in 5G? What I told till now is something about user experiences. We'll go a little bit in technical to see what is new in 5G. 5G is a 3GPP release 15. I mean, we have a CCATT standard for analog communication. Then it came to RFC standard for internet-based communication. Similarly, wireless standard, you have a 3GPP is a standardizing body. Release 13 and 14 is for 4G. When the 4G was introduced, it was release 13. Today it is release 14. And release 15 is the one which is standardizing for 5G, which includes edge computing to execute services close to the user equipment's access to point of attachment to reduce end-to-end latency and the load on the core network. Means you don't allow the data to go to the core network. For example, both users are in the same building or in the same office, their data can be switched in the tower itself. It doesn't need to go further through the fiber optic, satellite, core network, transatlantic cables, right? If you allow that to happen, then even the core network will get exhausted, congestion will happen, network will become slower, right? So when you watch a video, you see suddenly, circles comes, right? The video stops and circle comes because the congestion has happened. Through the network, you get the data into your machine, and the data is getting displayed on your screen. Okay, there is a rate of display and there is a rate of data coming into your machine, right? If the rate of display is faster than the data coming in through the network, that is where it gets stuck. You get a circle and it doesn't move, right? So if the video streaming is faster, for example, from the server to your machine, data is much faster because it has to come through the cable, fiber optics or satellite. If it is much more than your display rate, definitely it will never face any congestion. It will be very smooth, right? That is where the edge computing comes into the picture. You allow the local traffic to switch in local itself. You allow only the distance traffic, intercontinental, international, traffic to go through the core network. Next is virtualization, and SDN becomes the nature of 5G networks. SDN is software defined network. Since the hardware is going to be add the cost, so more and more you try to add new features, use algorithms, machine learning, artificial intelligence, all this, try to reduce the cost and make it cheaper and faster. Right. Network slicing is getting introduced in 5G. What is network slicing? You know, VLAN network, right? Even though I have 100 machines and 100 people, I can group them. Residential subscriber is one type of service requiring people. Commercial services, automobile users, right? So you can group different devices and make a network within among themselves. This is called virtualized LAN network. So similar to VLAN, the network also I can do the slicing of the network. This is called network slicing, which is introduced in 5G. It is the isolation of data streams for the different 5G usage scenarios, enhanced mobile broadband, massive machine type communications, and ultra reliable low latency. For example, where latency matters, you group them into one, subscriber, and physically the network will be same, but logically the network will be sliced into multiple based on the type of services you need. For example, ultra reliable low latency means they are premium subscribers. They may be ready to pay more, but they need a special attention, right? Whereas a normal residential subscriber or some entertainment requiring subscriber, it is not that serious and it may not be costlier also, right? So you can group the service wise different subscribers and put them into a slice in the physical network. By slicing the network through virtualization, several virtual networks with different security needs can exist on one physical infrastructure. When final 5G networks, mobile networks comes to India, they will use a new radio technology and different network architecture to deliver higher bandwidth and low latency than 4G and 3G networks we have today, right? So if you want to go to complete 5G later, which is going to add a lot of cost and definitely is going to have a time, right? Even the countries like US or Germany or France or UK who claim that 5G is there, that is not ultimate 5G. It is just improved version of 4G only, because they have not gone to multimeter waves and they have not added a new hardware or upgraded the hardware. 5G promises peak data rates up to 10 Gbps, that is up to 60 to 120 times faster than 4G. Latency, a measure of the time it takes for data to travel from phone to a distant server, could be less than a millisecond in 5G networks. Indian mobile users demography. You come to now India. What is the speciality of India when compared to the international, and how to address them? There is a lot of variation in the needs of Indian subscribers. The rural, low-educated ones needs only a basic voice service, not affordable to pay higher. Most of them use the second-hand recycled handsets, right? So whatever the cities have used got outdated. 2G phones, 3G phones nowadays they are in villages or rural areas or who are not afford to have this. The urban and semi-urban middle class will need some value-added services like SMS, WhatsApp, but at a lower cost. Cost still decides the factor, right? So 5G normally in China today, China says that they have the largest 5G network. The cost of 5G service is almost 4 or 5 times the 4G service. So if suppose you are paying 500 rupees per month with a 4G service, you may need to pay 2000 rupees per month, because that adds lot of cost to them. So now we know why it gets delayed. Definitely when you make 500 to 2000, the number of subscribers will reduce or amount of usage will reduce automatically. The urban high class needs all the latest features, 24 by 7 working, even at moderately high cost. India has the fastest growing data traffic needs. India is becoming the youngest country, median age of 28 years. China is 37. China's median age is more than us. US is 38. UK is 40. European Union is 43. Japan is 47. Right? So this is one different thing of India when compared to all the rest of the world is, as we progress, India is going to be the youngest country, which means we have to target the features, services required for the younger people. It is not easy to provide services to all range of subscribers, especially in a business where the unit price is falling day by day. In any business, you can see that cost is going up. When I buy a shirt for 1000 rupees, 5 years ago, today it may be 1500 rupees. Tomorrow it may be 2000 rupees. Any business you take, car if I buy Maruti was 50,000 rupees when I first Maruti was introduced, it was the slogan. Today Maruti is around 4.5 lakhs. Nowhere actually the cost comes down. It is only one industry in the world is only the wireless mobile telephone. Day by day the cost is coming down. It is very easy, surprising for the users, but for the service providers, it is very difficult. The voice call costing 16 rupees per call in mid 90s fell to few paise, and no other business on the globe has experienced such a trend. So you know how the service providers are now going in loss and how much they are in the bankruptcy. It is not easy to survive in the price falling business unless they are always on their toes, right? In no business you can take for granted. That is why the BSNL or the government kind of thing who had take for granted monopoly culture has gone down, right? BSNL was the highest. Today BSNL is the last, even in the mobile, because the service provision, the quality, attention to the subscribers all matters today. So even if user doesn't like, tomorrow I can change my service provider itself. If a user feels that today the cost is more, tomorrow itself I can change the service provider. With user portability in place, anybody can change the service provider anytime. So this all added to the severe competition, and it is very difficult to survive in the market. So Indian mobile users need to wait for 5G. 5G phones are already available in India. Samsung Galaxy S20 is 99,000 rupees, Xiaomi Mi 10 50,000 rupees, OnePlus 80 43,000 rupees. These are all figures in 2nd November 2020. So telephone handsets always can go. I can say 5G, 6G because it is a small device which can be made easily. But what is difficult is that service provider has to upgrade their network, upgrade their antenna elements, upgrade their, you know, fiber cabling. So that is not an easy thing. It will take a lot of time, and they will also see that the business doesn't go down. You have to see what are the users, whether they're ready to pay the higher charges, whether the usage should be higher, and which locality it can be, deployed, where it can come, and they have to do the field testing. All that will take much more time. So I will show you a small 2 minutes clipping on the telephone handset. Of course, we can't show any 5G feature because no service provider has 5G here. But how the telephone sets are, coming up today in the market, we have 5G phones which they claim. Even if you buy a 5G phone today, you can use only 4G features because network doesn't support. Okay, let me click on this link. It will take you to the YouTube internet, and it will show you that if a 5G phone records, how it will look like, right? So only a recording from the phone, not from the service provider side. I'm not sure how it will go through. If it go through, you can have some 2 minute this one. Otherwise, we may come back to the PowerPoint presentation.
I've been sitting around a lot recently. With
Hello, are you able to see the screen?
No, sir, only the PPT is being seen. The video, we are not able to
Video
see.
did not come. Did not come.
Can you see the screen now?
Only
Yeah,
PPT.
screen we can see.
Yeah, I think that link went to internet, but it was not sharing.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're not able to see the recording, right?
Yeah, we did not. We did not.
I think when it went to the internet, the sharing stopped and it has come back to that. Anyway, uh, this link, when you click, it will show you a 2-minute clip and you can see how the 5G phone recording, how it is better than the normal other recording. Let's move on to the PowerPoint slide. Coming to the third point in this slide. So building the 5G network to work with is going to take time because the network operators must test the technology, acquire the radio spectrum from government in an auction, build out the network infrastructure to offer service. All this will take a lot of time. Each step, I'll tell you that what happens to each step in the next few slides. So Indian mobile users need to wait till mid 2021 for a test trial itself. Means another 8 months. And that too 5G like services. It's not a 5G dream services. And widespread services will take till 2022 or later. Let's come to Indian major mobile service providers. There are only 3 main mobile service providers: Airtel, Vodafone Idea, Reliance Jio. The BSNL is now in the last, but it is not going to go up. Day by day, the BSNL subscribers are moving to one of the above 3. As on 31st July 2020, as per the Wikipedia's resource, Reliance Jio has 40.1 crore subscribers, Airtel has 32 crore subscribers, Vodafone Idea has 30.1 crore subscribers, BSNL has 12.2 crore subscribers. Right, in this top 3, there always competition. Once that Vodafone and Idea got merged, they became the highest. But what happened? Within 1 month, about 40 lakhs of Vodafone subscribers moved to Reliance Jio. So automatically, the Reliance Jio has become the top. Now, Reliance Jio with the 40 crore subscribers have come to the very strong top position, which nobody else can go over them. Airtel is 32 and Vodafone. Now there is a competition between the second and third. Airtel and Vodafone is keep on going rat and cats race kind of thing. BSNL is 12.2, which is keep reducing. Over a period of time, it may not be there. It might be a small time subscribers and it may be, right? So these are the major service providers today, and we will see how they are going to go forward with the 5G. Airtel has a long-standing partnership with Ericsson to supply and deploy 5G-ready radio and transport solutions. Ericsson was the first telecom equipment provider to start manufacturing in India in '94. Today, the company manufactures 4G and 5G radios as well as microwave products at its Pune production facility. In October 20 last week, Airtel said that they are not ready to participate in 5G radio spectrum option. So Airtel is in a very tight money condition, and they said earlier and now also they are not going to even participate in the 5G radio spectrum option. So anybody who wants to get 5G through Airtel, you may have to either switch to some other service provider, or something fortune should happen for Airtel to start making more profit. Next come to Vodafone Idea. Vodafone Idea strategy based on its 4G network to offer a 5G like service. It is not a 5G service. Like service means it's better than just 4G. This could translate into competitive advantage ahead of the auction and take some pressure off Vodafone Idea to invest in costly new spectrum licenses. They want to have in two phases. One is with the existing 4G infrastructure, they want to give some 5G like services. Parallelly, they will be upgrading their equipment to 5G, that millimeter wave infrastructure. To provide those 5G like services, Vodafone Idea has focused on introducing cloud and virtualization technologies into its 4G network. Despite the lack of action date for 5G spectrum, Huawei has shown greatest interest in investing in India's wireless market, primarily because it is the largest out of China by number of subscribers. So Vodafone and Huawei had an understanding, and Huawei showed a lot of interest to make that 5G like services. But the whole pandemic has changed the equation. India has been somewhat reticent regarding the US attempts to persuade the country to boycott the Chinese technology giant. So every service provider will think that to stop making a new contract with the Chinese or to end up, right? Even if India wants the US trying to propagate all the rest of the world that not to proceed with China and reduce. So this is not only the political situation, gives the economic situation also. Suppose if I buy an equipment from Huawei or ZTE, which is Chinese, the cost will be normally half of the equipment which I buy from Ericsson or Nokia or Cisco, right? So automatically cost becomes double, right? All that Western countries, they talk about quality and everything, but when you compare to the cost, Chinese cost will be always half or 60% of the cost only, right? That has direct major implication on the infrastructure, and we have a permanent 5G later. Earlier, Huawei said it deployed India's first artificial intelligence based on pre-5G technology on Vodafone's Idea network, claiming that the deployment of AI-based massive MIMO network will enhance user experience by threefold within the same set of spectrum. Okay, this is just using technology, not that real 5G. Use some virtualization, artificial intelligence, all those kind of techniques which doesn't add the cost, which doesn't add the time also. So this is like a temporary gap arrangement. I know that final 5G is going to take time. I will do something to retain my customers, to attract my customers, preventing from going from here to Reliance Jio. Right? With the help from Huawei, Vodafone Idea's 4G network are going to run on 5G like technology, which will be better prepare the carrier for speedier 5G deployment later. Now comes to Reliance Jio. Reliance Jio is world number 2 in terms of mobile user. First is China Mobile. Jio platform claims that they have successfully reached 1 Gbps speed along with Qualcomm in October 20. So 1 Gbps is the minimum speed required for 5G. Jio's Japanese peer Rakuten is already in talks with number of Indian providers for their 5G solutions, and experts estimate Jio will also onboard additional solutions from these companies. According to telecom experts, Jio could theoretically have 15% cost advantage in 5G rollout if it uses self-built software. But there is a high possibility that Jio will extend partnership with existing Indian providers in the 5G space to offer these solutions. So only the Reliance Jio has a lot of profit making. So they have advantage because they have laid fiber already in most of the Indian cities. They already provide broadband services. So they will definitely have 15% cost advantage, number one. Number two is they have already 4G subscriber base is much higher. So Reliance subscriber don't need to move it to 5G because other service providers are slower than or not that better than the other service providers. Google is among the latest to join in, buying a stake of 4.5 billion, that is 33,000 crores in Reliance Jio towards upgrading their network to 5G. So you might know that some of the MNCs, especially Google has invested. They don't trust even American companies. They trust Indian companies more than the American companies. So in the pandemic situation, even though people have lost a job, but the real situation is everybody has a lot of money in their account because money is not moving. Only when the business happens, money will move from one hand to other hand, one company to other company. So most of the American companies, including Google, Cisco, they don't know what to do with the spare money. They want to invest somewhere where they will get some returns, guaranteed returns. So Google has invested $4.5 billion in Reliance. And so Reliance got now the money to invest. So the money problem of upgrading the network is not there for Reliance Jio, which is not true with the other service providers. So are the IMSP ready with 5G? All the service providers feel that the government spectrum prices are exorbitant in comparison with their global peers. In fact, Airtel and Vodafone Idea are not going to take part in 5G spectrum sale if the prices are not lowered. That means Airtel and Vodafone, either they will not participate, they will give a temporary 5G service, whereas Reliance doesn't need to auction. If it is only one service provider, he will dictate the terms, right? So whatever the price they say, they have to take. The base price per megahertz for spectrum in 3400 to 3800 megahertz band is 65 US million dollar, that is 490 crores in India, as compared to 26 million in Italy, 18 million in South Korea, 10 million in UK, 5 million in Australia. So now you know that Indian government or a try expecting exorbitant money from the service provider, which is also a negative factor. Jio, the only profit-making telco in the Indian market, will indeed take part in the action. So only one participating in action means what? Whatever they say price is the price. Despite the setback presented by the challenges associated with the spectrum pricing, Indian operators are continuing to push towards 5G deployment. In fact, the global telecom industry body GSMA expects India to have 920 million unique mobile subscribers by 2025, which will include 88 million 5G connections. So by 2025, we expect 88 million, means 8.8 crores. So our whole total base itself is 118 crores. We have 118 crores mobile subscribers in India. That 8.8 crores only will go to 5G, which means that in this few years, 5G may not be in a millimeter wave, 5G may not be cost effective. It might be much costlier than 4G, where the users may not like to go immediately. With an auction scheduled for next year, that is Q1 2021, if everything goes through as of today's plan, India is yet to award licenses for the new 5G mobile standard. But its operators are still busy modernizing and upgrading their networks as they prepare for the technology's arrival. Reliance Jio, which launched its service just 4 years ago, already has a full internet protocol network, making its task the easiest. Reliance, having made their network with fiber, has already high bandwidth backhaul network. So mobile is normally only the last mile from the subscriber to the tower. After the tower, it is the core network, which is used for a landline network or other type of services also. So Reliance has already put fiber in the backhaul. They are not leaving the copper, whereas BSNL, Airtel, all they have mostly the copper only. Before 5G networks reach their full potential and become self-sufficient, most carriers will be using existing 4G LTE radio access, augmented with some new antennas. This allows carriers to transition 4G to 5G by offering improved services while the new physical infrastructure is built. From Tech Mahindra Scient ITI Limited to Sterilite Technologies Limited and Sankhya Labs, these companies have built 5G expertise across core telecom solutions such as virtual radio access networks, open RAN, chipsets, hardware, which Jio can possibly tap into its homegrown solutions. So the Reliance Jio strategy is not only for Indian market. They plan to make products, services for the global market. So they may provide the solutions for the other countries, and their direct competition is China Mobile. Right? What China Mobile, if the cost is lesser, definitely they can beat even the Chinese service provider. So how are the other countries in 5G? In US, there are mainly three service providers: Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. They have launched 5G services using millimeter wave. However, most of the time, AT&T and T-Mobile users see that 5G is actually connecting 850 megahertz and 600 megahertz low band spectrum instead of millimeter wave 5G services. Okay, even in India also, 4G. Most of the service providers say they are giving 70 Mbps, 100 Mbps, but practically speaking, in a normal day, no Indian user gets more than 20 Mbps. 15 to 20 Mbps is the normal physical data rate what we get. If you put an equipment and measure that, what will be, right? Especially the people who have a copper in the last mile, like BSNL or Airtel, they have only 15 to 20 only, right? Only the ACT or Hathway, who are the broadband service providers, may have little better, about 30-35 Mbps. Again, it varies based on the time of the day. Sprint has 2.5 gigahertz. South Korea, SK Telecom and Korean Telecom operates in 3.5 and 28 gigahertz, more than 1 million subscribers. Germany, Deutsche Telekom and Vodafone Germany, about 25 cities have 5G. UK is Vodafone and O2 joined in 5G. China, there are three: China Mobile, China Unicom, and China Telecom. Geographically, China has the largest 5G network today, much bigger than even in America. Worldwide, there are already 6.5 crore users and 82 service providers for 5G. Right? But most of them, they don't give the dream 5G. It is just like 5G like services. It is a 4G plus kind of thing. So these are the references what I have referred to make this presentation material.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. This is Sanjay Chitnis. So I'll be kind of coordinating this question answer session. Can we go ahead, sir? So already a lot of questions have come up from Dr. Srinivas. First question is, if I call a friend sitting in the next cabin, the call goes all the way to the tower, mobile switching center, and the entire backbone network. Is there any technology in 5G to avoid this and confine the traffic only to the local tower?
Correct. Yes. So the caching and switching at the center itself is going to be a part of 5G. So in 4G now, the data, irrespective of the destination subscriber, it has to travel the whole distance. That is how the time is more, latency is required is higher. In 5G, the first point is the call will switch at the nearest possible center itself.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Yeah. Next question is from Dr. Revati. Respect, sir, if we are moving from 4G to 5G, then we are increasing the coverage by implementing various towers. That's the question. Whether we are increasing the number of towers or by existing towers itself, we can manage. I have gone through some material in that they mentioned by increasing the number of towers, that is base stations. If so, the radiation might be high. So that's the question, that is the impact on radiation.
Right. The antennas required is much different and much complicated when compared to 4G. That is one of the cost increasing factor. So what some of the service provider will do is, if they have already a big tower with a lot of expansion plans, they will just remove the antenna and put the new antenna element. But in 5G, since the bandwidth and the carrier required is much smaller, the distance it travels is lesser and it gets absorbed much faster. Suppose if I have near the tower, there are high-rise buildings or so many trees, it will not travel farther, which means the coverage required for the same number of subscribers, the cell size will be much smaller, which means there will be more antennas. Normally, they expect every half a kilometer there will be one antenna, and each antenna will have one big complex things. You have to have a beam forming, right? So if I say 550 or 100 subscribers are in one place, you have to make one 8 by 8 element focusing only those subscribers, which means you have more elements on the same antenna set, and number of antennas will increase, number of elements on each antenna will increase. So there is a lot
Yeah.
of myth is there
Yeah.
that 5G is going to harm health-wise. If you go to the YouTube and log in, many videos will come that in fact many of the Western people think that even that's COVID is because of 5G, you know, and only technical people will understand how it is different from that. So all this health related is not proved, that somebody has to prove it, right? Not guessing is not right. So you prove it, pass that radiation on some living things and see whether it is affected or not affected. In fact, COVID vaccination itself is getting delayed because nobody want to take a chance. I'm trying on human beings. They may try to use some animals or birds and kind of thing. So as far as what I know is just a myth with they think, and but over a period of time, larger deployment, how it is going to work, we have to wait and see.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Next question is also actually, in fact, related to adverse health effect. So the question is, any suitable measures to be taken at early stages for adverse health effects, if at all?
Adverse is basically the health related, right?
Yeah, health related, yes. Yes, sir.
So, see, initially the 5G, what they say 5G like is nothing but 4G only.
Hmm.
Radiation wise, it is 4G only.
Hmm.
For the user, it doesn't matter. For user in the telephone set, in the handset, if you have a new feature, faster, downloading is much faster, you say is better, right? But if you see the antenna radiation wise, if you are going to use the same 4G for next 2 years, it will not change, right? So only the millimeter wave, people may be afraid that it may give a health hazard. It is, one is it has a time of 2 to 3 years. Even US or Germany who say about 5G, they have not gone to millimeter. They are just doing the same 6 gigahertz, not more than 6 gigahertz. They are enhancing the features only. So as of today, there is nothing to worry. It is just a rumors only. But the millimeter wave, when it comes and widespread comes, there may be a chance, may be true, but nobody will deploy in a field unless they try out in a small cell with any living thing, whether it is affecting or not affecting.
Yeah, just one follow-up question from my side, sir, for this. See, what we have already found is independent of 4G or 5G, but people have done these radiation studies at on the field of mobile towers, and what they found was the radiation was much more than what is specified in the standard, right? The way some kind of network setting has been done, or the fine tuning has been done. I don't know what's the advantage to mobile phone operators. Maybe it gives better range or something like that. I'm not sure. But no, so people were breaking basically, right? Illegally increasing the radiation levels.
Right.
So any comment on that?
Yeah, see, service provider look for money, right? If somebody
Yeah,
is doing in a loss, he will go out to do everything, right? It is
sure.
user only has to see what is our experience, whether it is working out, whether I am comfortable. Service
Hmm.
provider already who is going in a loss, he might
Hmm.
do something illegal or informal or whatever
Hmm.
kind of
Hmm. Hmm.
thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Definitely 5G have a higher radiation
Hmm.
because it is being focusing, right?
Hmm.
It's like, I'm giving a light, keeping one light in the center of a room,
Hmm.
another one focused light on a few people, the
Yeah,
difference, right?
right, right. On the study table, we have table
Correct.
lamps kind of thing.
So
Yeah.
definitely it is, 5G have a higher frequency range,
Hmm.
higher power because you have to reach more subscribers in reliable way.
Sure.
Definitely 5G radiation will be stronger than the 4G when the millimeter wave communication comes into the picture, otherwise not. Right?
Sure.
All
Sure.
that I'm sure in US FCC standards and all, they won't let it go easily. They
Hmm.
will try to see the tests are done and, right from government side or service provider side. When it is proved, then it will go to the pilot trial, then it goes to wide deployment.
Hmm.
If it comes to wide deployment, I'm sure that they might have tested. It is not that without it will come. So today it may not be seen because millimeter wave communication is not in place. Second is it is not widely deployed. It is a very few places and it is just 4G plus only. It is not a 5G kind of.
Hmm.
So we have another 3 4 years to see whether the rumors are true or not. And service providers we cannot take. I know they might do anything. They might say something, but they might do something which may harm, which may not harm, kind of thing.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Yeah. So next question actually was from me about the cost aspect, but you already answered in subsequent slides. So got the the comparative difference between 4G and 5G. But
Yeah.
the related question is, what is the expected time frame where the operators will recover the cost of 4G investments? Like, is it a concern?
Yeah, so it is not an easy question even for service provider to say. In China, I'm telling,
Hmm.
even though they use a very, low cost equipments, labor cost is very low kind of thing. A user who pays 500 rupees per month for 4G service, now he has to pay 2000 rupees.
2000. Yeah.
Okay, that is the load on the subscriber itself.
Hmm.
One thing, it may still come down because if it is widely deployed, it means more subscribers will come. The cost of scale of economy will come into the picture. Number one, if it is used. But if 2000 rupees is more, if nobody want to go, either it will be even become costlier, right? Because number of subscribers are reduced.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they may say that we won't go to millimeter wave communication, we will live with only 4G plus because
Hmm.
radiation is going to be same kind of thing. But how far it is going to go with, we have to wait and see. Okay?
Yeah.
Between the, demand and supply. The supplier can
Yeah.
keep producing, assuming the demand is going to be more, he will go in loss.
Hmm.
Or if the supplier thinks demand will not be there, then he will become a short supply. Only one service provider may get all the market because others are not ready. Right?
Sure.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. Next question is about 5G Wi-Fi handovers. So I read there's a couple of news items that there are a lot of security issues hackers are exploiting. So is it because of protocol not defined properly or some other reason?
Yeah, Wi-Fi is not as standardized as 3GPP. Wi-Fi is basically standardized by IEEE.
Mm-hmm.
Wi-Fi 802.11a BG. So IEEE, it was not a standardizing body. IEEE was basically an academic institute. They came into a standardizing body only in the Wi-Fi case, whereas CCITT, then it became RFC, then it is now 3GPP. So standardizing wise, Wi-Fi may not be as standardized as that because it is only local area, right? If within the building, within the office, only Wi-Fi works. It doesn't work in the entire country or world. So definitely the standards are not as standardized as them. Over a period of time, it might come up. Right? 802.11a it started. Now it is 802.a, B, C, G, N. So each one depends on what is the distance, what is the power level, how many devices are connected, and the security related differs based on these factors.
Sure.
So when the 5G comes, there might be a new Wi-Fi standard which is more secure.
Great. Sure. Thank you, sir. Next question from Dr. Srinivas. Does the fiber optic network coming up in cities, large scale, that is supporting very high data rates, have any impact on the core 5G network?
Definitely. So that's why Reliance get that advantage. Suppose somebody, I will just tell a practical example. If you have a BSNL or Airtel connection for broadband, and if you have a Reliance connection, you can see the difference. When you start your, broadband modem or a Wi-Fi, and you can see there won't be any disruption or congestion in Reliance because it has a fiber. There is no data congestion will come. Whereas if you see Airtel and BSNL, they still go on the DSL concept. DSL is a digital subscriber line where they want to use copper itself for a high bandwidth rate. It is only a technological difference, but it's not a hardware infrastructure difference. So if I have a BSNL, if you see first 15 minutes, the internet will keep coming and going. It won't be stable. Then after that, you use any amount of time, it is different. So when a new subscriber, when I switch on my machine, I'm getting into the network. It will see how many subscribers are already there, whether I can allocate bandwidth for me or not. What is the data I access, whether it is video or a data. Based on all that, my data gets settled. So definitely, when you make a fiber, that to a high-speed fiber, like a unilayer fiber, it makes a difference of 5G network because it will automatically cater to it. Otherwise, it will not.
Next question is Karthik Pai. We have a fiber network claiming to offer 5G speeds. Is it true? And when we connect to the Wi-Fi network of the fiber, so he's I think referring to the home gateways and routers. So will a 4G device be able to adapt to 5G speeds?
So fiber comes only to the home, up to the
Yeah.
device. Then it depends on location of your laptop or a user device. It has to be Wi-Fi only.
Yeah.
Normally, we don't use cable for because it affects our mobility. right? So Wi-Fi will have a limit. Wi-Fi, even if comes to 5G, unless the Wi-Fi also increased. Today, Wi-Fi may go up to 100 Mbps only. Even though actual today we don't feel it, because even though the service provider says 70 Mbps, 80 Mbps, I will tell you practically it is 10 to 20 Mbps only. No service provider gives a service more than 10 to 20 Mbps. But this is enough for a moving video. For a normal slow moving video, even 5 Mbps will do. Good video like a movie continuously watch without interruption, 15 to 20 Mbps is enough. Since we don't feel it, we think whatever they say is correct, which is not true at all. Right? The present Wi-Fi can go only maximum up to 100 Mbps. Whereas if 5G says 1 Gbps, definitely the Wi-Fi will come into the picture. It will become a hurdle unless Wi-Fi also have a new, protocol, new type of devices which will cater for 1 Gbps. The present Wi-Fi devices which we use, definitely it won't be useful for 5G.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. The next question is from me. Sir, as the 5G rollout has some time, couple of years, then shouldn't India develop our own solutions, at low cost, like CDAC kind of approach, rather than relying on external solutions? We have time on our side.
Yeah, definitely. Since nobody is trying for next 3 years at least, not the dream 5G, they want to have intermittent, what is it called, stopgap arrangement of 5G only. You have about 3 to 4 years time to develop our own. So some of them who are looking for, making equipments, devices, they plan to do here in India. But again, it depends on economic, political situation, how fast it will come, how it will not come. The government will change, or like our COVID kind of situation will come. It may not go as per the plan we made, kind of thing. Whereas we always believe somebody has ready the equipment, you can buy it, right? So I have a subscriber base ready, ready to pay money to me. I won't wait till somebody develops and gives, because it has a risk. It may not come. Whereas somebody has readily, then I will buy it even though cost is more. I don't want to lose a subscriber. Right? China is always winning because of that only. But their quality may not be as good as what we think, but they have a ready solution today. Right? On paper at least, or to show at least, or demonstrate, may not be reliable, whatever's next thing. Right? Because cost comes important factor. Cost and the readiness comes to the important factor.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. Thank you, sir. Next question from Dr. Shaman. Are the 5G phones in market also equipped with MIMO antenna configuration?
Yes. So if you switch on your phone, in the top right, you see 4G, right? So even if you buy a phone 5G, it will show 4G only, because service provider doesn't give 5G to. Right? You have 4G if it is 4G. If it is not 4G, it will come as H+. H+ means it tries 4G, but there is no bandwidth there. It goes to the 3G. Right now, today they have all outskirts have still 3G, and even 3G antennas, everything will do both of them. Similarly, if you have 5G, you have to change the antennas and it will come to 5G. Till you see the 5G on the top right corner of the phone, it is not doing any 5G service. Your phone may be ready to do 5G service, but the service provider are not.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Next question from Dr. Srinivas. Sparrows have vanished in cities and it is somehow attributed to the radiation from towers. Is it true?
We have to wait and see.
Okay.
There is no yes or no questions. I don't know whether somebody has taken some sparrows, passed the radiation on them, and then it works on this. So unless there is a lab kind of test, confirmed test, nobody can make. Maybe a rumor, maybe real also. Who knows? We don't know.
Probably we can try on pigeons. Definitely pigeons doesn't seem to be getting affected by radiation. That many buildings in Bangalore have a lot of pigeons. Anyway, next question from Dr. Karthik Pai. Sir, we have fiber network claiming to offer 5G speed. Is it true? I think it's the same question. I think we have answered that. Next question is from Dr. Ram Kumar. Thanks for your wonderful session. It's quite informative and easy to understand. I think that was the complete thing. After this, I think the questions are over here, but I have one more question from my side. You mentioned about Huawei solution in AI, for Vodafone Idea. Right. So any idea what kind of thing exactly they're giving? Is it for their encoding or some bandwidth compression or anything? Any specific idea how they're using AI?
I'm not very sure. Maybe I can get some details. This is mostly on the soft side and what is it called? High bandwidth immersed service kind of thing. Like hologram and those places only this AI will be more useful. Basic services of just increasing the bandwidth, increasing data rate, where the AI may not serve here. Augmented reality, those places where the AI will be useful. I don't have much information.
Yeah. So is it more like at application level rather than the core kind of network or communication level? Something like that?
Yes.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I think that's all questions. I hope everything is there. So I'll hand over to Dr. Srinivas and Vice Chancellor, sir.
Yes, sir. Vice.
Thank you.
Vice Chancellor, sir, will propose the vote of thanks.
Sure.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you, Professor Prabhu, for a wonderful session on India's readiness for 5G. I'm sure the lecture was so simple for anybody with no background in this 1G to 5G would understand. I think it's a very useful lecture for all the people to understand the kind of things that are happening and what is the kind of scenario, the kind of problems, the kind of the issues and challenges involved in implementing 5G. And thank you, Professor Prabhu. I think we will look forward to more lectures from you on this topic because it's a very interesting and a most talked subject in the recent past, particularly the communication has become so important. We thank on behalf of Bytes and Diana Sagar University for sparing your time to deliver this lecture. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sure, sir. Thank you.